Peter, good morning to you. This is disturbing in every way.
It is, it really is, and I think it's another wake-up call to the Australian public, to the government, to all of us, that we need to make sure that we can secure our borders, to make sure that we've got the appropriate funding and support for our police and intelligence agencies, and all praise to the police and the intelligence agencies that have foiled this latest alleged attack. And there's a lot of work that they're doing behind the scenes that Australians don't see. But we are working very hard with them to keep our country safe.
Well, they're doing an incredible job, aren't they? And it keeps on keeping on for them. Let's talk some detail, though. News Limited reports this morning these men came to Australia as refugees. What information do you have on that?
Well, there's obviously these matters now before the courts, Carl, but just in terms of what's been in the press today, the initial advice to me is that allegedly one of the suspects may have come to Australia with some false documentation. At that stage, obviously, bearing in mind this was in 2009, over that long period there was about 50,000 people who came on 800 boats. It is a difficult situation, particularly at that period of time, for the intelligence agencies. I've asked for an urgent review in relation to all the facts in relation to this case so that we can learn the lessons, and we've provided additional funding and support to the agency since we came to government in 2013. So look, the threat is ever vigilant. People are crossing our borders every day, and we need to make sure that our border protection staff have all of the support that they need to keep us safe.
All right, so let's go backtrack just a little bit. One of these people arrived in Australia by plane, allegedly using another person's passport. That's before the courts. But in general, how does something like that slip through immigration?
Well, if people have proper travel documentation when they leave from the Middle East, for example, and come to our country, if it's discovered when they arrive here that they're travelling on false passports or false documentation otherwise, then they will be taken into held detention. The security agencies will conduct their searches on who the person is, whether or not they've got a claim to protection, and then that is investigated. At that stage, it's open to the particular person to make application for a visa of some type, citizenship otherwise, but we don't always get it right. And I think in the situation where borders at that stage were fairly porous in Australia, with boats just coming every day, the stretched ASIO and other intelligence agency services means that it's very hard for them to conduct all of these searches comprehensively. So that's the lesson to be learnt. We've stopped the boats now, and we need to make sure that they remain stopped so that we can give our intelligence agencies every opportunity to fight some of the people who are coming back from the Middle East that may have been in Syria.
This guy came by plane, though.
Correct, that's exactly right. And people obviously every day, if they're coming by plane, coming by boat, the security agencies need to do their work. The point is, Carl, that if the system is being overwhelmed by tens of thousands of people coming by boat, it doesn't matter whether they come by boat or plane, it's pretty hard for the security agencies to conduct the thorough searches that they need to conduct.
What I'm saying is it may not necessarily be a Labor government issue, is it? It's an immigration issue.
Well, I think it's a combination of the government of the day and their policy and their approach to how strong we are with our borders. And this government has been criticised for having a very strong border protection policy, but it's necessary. We need to make sure that we know who's coming to our country. We need to make sure that the security agencies are properly staffed. And over that period of time, I think the security agencies were just overwhelmed.
50,000 people came during that period. Is that what you're saying? 50,000 people alone just on boats. How is it possible then for our security agencies to be across maybe even 1,000 of them?
Well, this is a difficulty. 50,000 people on 800 boats. In 2013, there were 302 boats. In 2014, after we came to government, the changes had been in. Over that year, there was one boat. And we have lots of resources deployed here and overseas to make sure that we can disrupt these activities. And we're absolutely resolute. And we've sent a very strong message to people smugglers that we're not going to allow their business to start up again. I think if we do that and we can properly resource the intelligence agencies and my own department, we give ourselves the best chance to defeat any of these people who would seek to come here to harm us.
And the reality is that maybe none of those 50,000 people, we're not implying that they're terrorists, but we don't know how many have been radicalised. It could be people who are in Australia, who are born in Australia, but surely there needs to be some sort of investigation, some sort of inquiry about the scale, the nature and the number of those who are in here now, for our intelligence services to have any hope of stopping the attacks like were planned allegedly yesterday.
Well, Carl, I sit on the National Security Committee with the Prime Minister, and we're briefed regularly by the intelligence agencies. I can tell you they're working 24/7 at the moment to make sure that they can quash any attempt, to make sure that they can get on top of any threat. They're working hand in glove with the state and territory police forces. We've obviously seen a number of incidents in recent months internationally, and they're learning from those experiences as well. And nobody's suggesting that people coming by boat are terrorists or any of that. All I'm saying is that we need to make sure that we know the identity of those who come by sea or by air. We need to make sure that we can check their backgrounds. But if the agencies are overwhelmed by a huge surge of people, it just makes it very hard, very, very hard to conduct those proper searches.
The numbers are very big and they're working, as you say, very hard. We appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks,